Hi, everybody. Can you see me? Hi. Hey. How's everybody doing? It's holiday break. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Okay. All right. Now we're on. There's always this like pause with Instagram when you stream or go live. It's like this awkward, like black screen. I feel like I'm really close up to you all. But hey, I'm on here to answer your questions about habits. So excited. So if you've been following along, you know that the Meet the Needs workshop series is happening right now. You can get the habits workshop, and that's why I'm on here talking about habits. I'm going to answer some questions that were given to me from the audience, specifically two, because two were repeated. Like I kept getting them consistently. So if you have a specific question about setting habits in the classroom, using habits to automate tasks, using habits to help transition, using habits to automate your response to student behavior. Okay? If you have any questions on creating habits in the classroom, you can comment, and I've got the comments up right here, or you can send me a message, or you can send me an email. Honestly, the email is the best way to reach me because my DMs are an absolute chaotic mess. And I don't think you can organize them. Like I've tried. I've tried to create so many systems. But anyway, I'm going to kick this off with two questions that I got. The first one was from a second grade teacher in Arizona, and she is in her third year, so a fairly new teacher. And she wants to know simple habits that she can develop to manage behavior quickly, effectively, without disrupting the flow of teaching. Um, so when it comes to managing behavior, it really is dependent on the flow of your instruction and how many pauses you create, how many pauses exist while you're instructing. And I see that a lot because teachers tend to have their, I feel like I'm like being really harsh with teachers, but it's just the job is absolute chaos. We have to manage so many things at once. So we are mentally overloaded and sensory overstimulated. So we tend to put things down and not pay attention to where we put them down at. We also tend to get distracted from moving like from one area of the room to another, and then we see something that we were supposed to have done, or something that needs to be cleaned, or something that needs to be picked up, and we get distracted, and that can end up wasting a lot of time between like your instructional transitions. So I always tell my teachers, my early year career teachers, to design your space so that it is intentional with flow. You design your space for flow. And that sounds very zen-y, but it's not, it has nothing to do with the flow of Zen. What it means is that um, in if you can design your space to exist sequentially with your activities, then you can move from one space doing one thing to right next to it is the next thing you want to do. And then all of the materials for your third thing that you're going to do is right next to that thing that you just did. For example, I had on my wall, my front wall with my projector, um, the poster board of group created expectations was all the way to the far right. Then I had the timer right next to it. And then the learning goal and the project students were working on. And then right next to that was the projector where we were going to do our 10 deep breaths. So at the beginning of every day, the kids come in, I greet them, we talk a little bit. And then as soon as I started walking to that poster, my the routine that not morning routine, but that beginning of class routine, that habit just took over and I really didn't have to think about it. And that's what habits are all about. They're about automating things so you don't have to carry unnecessary information in your brain because we don't have space for it. So it uses the space in your brain more efficiently. So as soon as I headed to that expectation poster, I knew what I was going to say, knew what I was going to do. Like I did it automatically. I didn't have to think about it. So even though the expectations for each class were worded a little bit differently or were just different expectations because the expectations were created with the kids, right? So even though it was different, how I said them, the order I said them in, it just automatically happened. Um, and eventually I had them and the students had them memorized and we would all say them together. But having that just that movement towards the poster was enough to initiate, hey, I'm doing my morning or not my morning, my beginning class of routine, and it automatically happened. So then from the expectation poster, I would move to the timer. I didn't even have to think about setting the timer, even how long I set the timer. It was like just an automatic boop, 15, 20 minutes. And then I would go to the learning goal and the project that they were working on and say that and then start the video for the 10 deep breaths. Not only did this cue me, but it also cued my students because they knew what to expect. That like clicked their brain on to, hey, I'm an art. I'm going like these are my expectations. This is what it's going to feel like. This is what it's going to sound like. This is how she's going to flow with her instruction. This is what I can expect. And that turns the part of the brain that I work with in my classroom, it turns that part of the brain on. And all of those memories of like students being in my room and my rules and my expectations and how I deliver instruction, that part of the brain became engaged. And that really, that beginning routine in the classroom of boom, 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 and my kids knew what to expect, that really made it so that the rest of the class would run smooth. It like eased them in. So for early career or anybody, if your physical space is chaos, I guarantee you are wasting a lot of time just trying to find stuff or not having everything right next to you, like point of performance. So everything you need, okay, for different tasks are in their place. Um, it wastes time getting distracted. You start doing other things. You're putting stuff down and you're not able to find it. It's hard to create habits when your space is like that. So you want to design for space, for flow, for all of the potential habits you want to create. I want to talk too about point of performance. So point of performance is an ADHD hack. It's where you put everything you need to do a task in the same spot. So for instance, when I had kids do holdups, I'd have them do holdups instead of asking them like, hey, who can tell me what a tertiary color is? I had them use cards, note cards, colorful cards, or whiteboards, and I would ask them all, write a tertiary color or color with a tertiary color because I had colorful dry erase markers. So that everything they needed for their holdups, it was in the seat sack. They didn't have to go anywhere to get that material. We did them often enough that um, that having them there, like, it was just absolutely necessary. So their holdups, everything for that was in their seat sack at their seat. For me, I would do holdups after breathing because that's when I'm like reviewing what we did for last class. And that meant that I had everything for holdups right next to my computer because I was playing the YouTube video, the breathing YouTube video that I always did at the beginning. So I had everything for holdups right next to my computer. Then after holdups, we'd move into instruction. I had everything I needed for instruction right next to the holdups. If I noticed something was out of place, I took care of it right away. But I'm ADHD, so I have to keep an eye on stuff like that, or my entire life like implodes. So, point of performance meant that I had everything I needed for instruction in the same area, everything I needed for holdups in the same area. And the habit piece comes that the holdups were right next to my computer. The instruction materials were right next to the holdups. So I go boom, boom, boom. Um, so if you set up your space to flow and you do it thinking about the habits that you want to eventually create in your classroom, you're going to put yourself in a much better spot for implementing future habits. I just want to check. Sequentially is the word ID I was missing. I think of organization, but I couldn't wrap my head around how it needed to be laid out. Yeah, sequentially. Okay. So, um, the next one was from a principal in Denver, and they wanted to know, how can I support my neurodivergent teachers in creating habits so they don't feel so overwhelmed? And I love this. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for thinking of your neurodivergent teachers. And it's so important that neurodivergent students have neurodivergent teachers. Like, that representation is really important. So, the first thing I want to tell you is that um, you have to remind them that they're not in trouble. And this sounds super patronizing, and it sounded really icky to say as a neurodivergent person. But the fact is, neurodivergent adults live with our disability all our lives. And when we were kids, we would get in trouble for things that we had no idea, like why we were getting in trouble for them. And it was consistent. And that skews our reality. It creates cognitive distortions, negative reflexive thinking about admin approaching us. And it can really be a huge barrier to admin teacher relationships, um, just because our past history of punishments and consequences and not fully understanding why. So when you do it, when you approach them, first you have to be approaching them from a space where you're confident that um, if they're going to get this habit setting down, and then they're going to be a great teacher. Okay, that confidence has to exist because we're also very sensitive to people lying to us, and we can read people's faces, and we're going to overanalyze them. So when you approach the teacher, make sure that it's from a place of trust and confidence in their ability. You feel like they are competent individuals, and you just want to support them and let them know that. Let them know that you believe in them and you believe in their ability to teach, and that you're just there to support them in whatever way they need to be supported. And then you can ask. So I noticed at the dot, are you interested in getting down habit setting? Um, and if they're interested in that, they're motivated to do it, then absolutely help them out. The next thing is that you want to make sure you know what you're doing, because if you do not know what you're doing when it comes to habit setting, you could set them up to not be successful. So that is a very sensitive area too. And if you set them up to not be successful and they fail, they are likely going to experience helplessness and hopelessness, which are two huge characteristics of burnout. So you want to make sure that if you're offering advice on habit setting, or if you're trying to support your teachers specifically with habit setting, that you have done your research and you know how to effectively create and implement a plan for a habit. If you want more information on habit setting, you can read Atomic Habits by James Clear. That is a really good, comprehensive book on creating and redesigning habits. Tiny Habits by BJ Fogg, I would say, is the best book to read if you're trying to create habits from scratch, or if you are trying to fix the habits, because he's got really good exercises in that. Um, or you can check out the Power of Habits workshop, which is a part of the Meet the Needs workshop series. You can get that by commenting workshop, or you can go to my website. So the last thing is, um, you want to help them by starting small. So if you're trying to support a neurodivergent teacher in habit setting, you want create small, concrete intentions, and then create with them some implementation intentions. And an implementation intention is an if then. And this is important because people who are starting to create habits, if they get sidetracked or their habit gets put off the rails, it can be very discouraging. And for us who are neurodivergent, a lot of us have experiences with trying different strategies and the strategies don't work. And then we feel even worse. So when you're creating, honestly, when you're creating any supportive program or intervention or support, any type of support for neurodivergent teachers, I want you to develop some if then statements with the teacher. So if there is a fire drill, or if there is a snow day, or if there is the gigantic T-Rex that storms into the school and we have to go on lockdown, um, the implementation intention has to uh, anticipate interruptions, disruptions, obstacles of them creating the habit or using the support. So if you have any questions, on habit setting in the classroom, let me know in the comments. And if you are feel so inclined, because it's absolutely amazing, check out the Meet the Needs workshop series, which is on my website, or you can comment workshop. And it is all about rewiring our brain in the classroom. Okay, I'm sorry, I got cut off. I saw a comment. The Meet the Needs workshop series is all about It's all about rewiring our brains using cognitive behavioral therapy strategies, understanding the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system, um, uh, interrupting cognitive distortions, negative thought patterns, and creating sustainable habits that can automate our processes in the classroom, automate how we react to student behavior, and create better transitions. It can, oh my gosh, it can save you so much time, so much mental energy. Habits are where it's at. I cannot talk about them enough. But the Meet the Needs workshop series, it's all about how we react in the classroom and how we can lower our stress response, regulate ourselves so that we can have happier, healthier lives as teachers dealing with chaos. You can still be a high performer and be in a high stress job. And it all comes down to how you take care of your stress response, of your nervous system. And that's exactly what the Meet the Needs workshop series is going to show you how to do. And then you can take those strategies and you can teach them to your kids, your students. You'll understand, why am I getting so triggered? Why do I feel overstimulated? What does noise have to do with my sympathetic nervous system? Why why do I feel okay, but like all of a sudden I'll hear something or see something or perceive something, and I'm just like in panic mode. Like all of those different experiences that we have in the classroom that are so stressful and so overwhelming, those are going to be covered in the workshop series, and I'm showing you how to work through them. You can comment workshop, or you can go to my website. Okay, so the comment, how can I get the titles of the books about habits again? Um, thank you. Yeah. So the books were James Clear's Atomic Habits, and they were it was BJ Fogg's Tiny Habits. So Atomic Habits and Tiny Habits. And I'll put them in the chat. So if you have any questions on habits, you can let me know here. If not, Tiny Habits and Atomic Habits. I am going to go, actually, because I have to go pick up my daughter. I love you all. Thank you so much for joining and following along, and you guys are amazing. I hope you enjoy your break, and I am trying to send these book titles, but it's not letting me. So maybe I'll put them in my stories. Okay. All right, everybody, enjoy your holiday break. Oh, dope. Okay. You got them. All right. Enjoy your holiday break, and I hope that you all feel rejuvenated and revitalized, and you do some you time and things that you love. Bye.